Men, we stand at the brink, at the threshold of our finest hour. We knew this day would come. We knew they would come after all this time, all this winter, the long summer, into a very long fall. They come from the Midway. They bring their salads, hot dogs, and their Italian beef of stewed beef, and their wide soups of tomato and cheese. They cling to Saturday Night Live sketches from the 90s, from players and coaches from the 80s. They are the great horde, smitten with glories long past. They speak eldritch, strange words like Jay Cutler and Brian Urlacher and what other ungodly spells they invoke. They come to push us beneath their ketchup-stained thumbs. They come to thrash this team and put us on the road to firing the coach and the general manager, which honestly wouldn't be the worst idea in the world, but they should not be allowed to have a say in such a matter. The Chicago Bears are at the gates. They have crossed Lake Michigan. They have stormed Grand Rapids, and they come for Detroit. But I say this shall be the end. This far, no further. I say that we shall be unsauced, for we have spicy boys and spicier men. They have a top 5 defense. We have a revamped offensive line and a Stafford. They have Tariq Cohen. We have chunky, running, stuffing chunkers. They have Mitch Trubisky. We have... Actually, that's not something we should be really worried about, to be honest. We shall fight them on the beaches. We shall fight them on the landings. We shall fight them near trains, over hills, and we shall never, never surrender, because that's not really an option in the NFL. Now, watch this drive.
No. Oh,
That's a size on. I'm not chugging that whole damn thing. Welcome to the...
I was going to say goodbye. I think we should do an outro now. I think we're done here.
I need a cigarette.
I wish I had time to tell you before. We got to... You know what? No, I'm putting Fly the Valkyries on. Welcome to the Pride of Detroit podcast. PrideOfDetroit.com. Pride of Detroit on Twitter. Pride of Detroit on Facebook. We say it every week. You know where to find us. You know where to bleep with us. We are on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit live. After the show, you can catch it, the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on YouTube. Search for Pride of Detroit there. It's all over the place, man. This is the Pride of Detroit podcast, and I am your adequate host and war consigliere, Chris Perfett. Don't let the Lucha mask fool you. This is Chris Perfett here. At Chris Perfett on Twitter, PERFETT. Joined, as always, by the fearless leader and my compatriot, my wingman, Jeremy Reisman, at Detroit on Lion. Jeremy, you ready?
I am. Like, I'm normally a pacifist, but now I kind of want to, like, not only just run my head through a brick wall, I want to run it through a bear's chest.
Well, not a real bear, hopefully. Not.
We'll see.
Not a real one.
If it gets in the way, I'll do it.
Okay.
P to come at me.
This beer is really good. I'm glad I did not chug it, because this is one of these ones you want to, like, savor a little bit. And joining us, Ryan Matthews. At Ryan_POD. Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
Mitch Trubisky will not survive if the Lions bring the fury that you just brought with that intro. He will not leave Ford Field in one piece.
We can only hope. We can only hope that maybe Trey Flowers saw this or something and is just ready to go hard.
If only we still had Mike Daniels, because I think he would actually get, like, pumped up by a guy in a lucha mask. I don't know about Trey Flowers. Mike Daniels totally would, though.
So I was looking for my military Matthew Stafford jersey and, like, something to dress up as Patton, but unfortunately I think all that's still packed up from when I moved up here, because I am a very slow unpacker for my apartments. But yeah, this is, in case you haven't heard, this is the Bears preview podcast. We're not doing First Bite this week just because we want to get this out. We want to just take our time with it. We want to have Ryan here. We want to have some fun. And later on, we've got a treat for you. Big friend of mine, Jonas Knox, will be joining us. He's going to be bringing the Bears perspective. He's great. Me and Jeremy had some fun sitting down with him. You're going to hear him here in just a moment. But, you know, we've got to start with with the Lions, excuse me, not the Bears. We got to start with the Bears. We got to start with our thoughts about this because, guys, finally it's happened. We're less than we're 5 days away from the NFL kicking off, from the Lions kicking off, even sooner for the NFL kicking off. But the Lions on Sunday against the Bears, I can't think of a better way to get through this horrible, no good year that we've had without football, and it's finally coming back, baby.
I'm still in the disbelief phase. Like, the fact that we're here about to break down a football game and we haven't even seen a preseason. I have no idea what the Bears are going to look like. I have no idea what the Lions are going to look like, even having watched them at training camp. It's bizarre, but it's so exciting. I need this in my life right now, and I'm glad the NFL got it together this offseason to make it so it could happen.
Did we lose someone? Oh, okay.
Nope.
No, sorry. Ryan just stared at me, and I was just like, okay, you're intimidating, Ryan.
Well, says the guy in the luchador mask.
Ryan, this feels weird, right? Like we haven't had a preseason, but I mean, how do you feel going into this game?
We haven't had a lick of football, and it feels like the last thing that really football-wise happened was the draft. And I know Jeremy went to training camp and everything, but that seemed like the last normal thing that happened on schedule. You know what I mean? Like, it felt like the last football event, and that was months ago. And by months ago, I mean it seems like it was a decade ago with the way that time passes these days. But I couldn't be any more excited for football. I think it's going to be a really good year. If you've been, well, Jeremy, you haven't gotten around to our season predictions yet. Right?
Not yet, but
on
we're
the website.
Nope, and we're gonna drop some at the end of this podcast, but everything else is kind of shrouded in mystery at this point because it's early in the week, and I think everyone's just kind of throwing darts.
Yeah, I think that's just what it's going to be for September. It is going to be a lot of dart throwing. I don't think anyone's going to hit that thing. You know, if you watch the BBC, those guys are screaming 180. No one's getting 180 points on their darts on this first try. This is a beer league here. I want to recap what we know about the Bears from the offseason so far, but you guys want to rehash anything about Adrian Peterson? So I think we saw a couple extra shoes drop. By the way, if you haven't gone, go listen to the Adrian Peterson podcast. Jeremy, the guys did a mini pod there. Mike Payton put out an interview with Dan Miller. We've been doing a lot of stuff on the Pride of Detroit PODcast feed. You want to subscribe there. But I think, Jeremy, did we get in that Adrian Peterson podcast around the time that we knew what was going to happen with Huntley and that we knew about Scarborough going to the IR, or was that... We
knew Huntley had already been claimed, but Bo to IR was news since then. And it's slightly surprising in that, you know, it seemed like he was just about to return from injury that he had in training camp. But the IR is only 3 weeks this year. You know, he can return after 3 weeks, so it's not that big of a deal. To me, it kind of just feels like a kicking the can down the road type of thing with Bo Scarborough, because Adrian Peterson is what, you know, elite Bo Scarborough would be. Like, Bo Scarborough's ceiling is probably not even close to 35-year-old Adrian Peterson, if we're being honest. And so when Bo Scarborough is healthy enough to play again, the question is, do the Lions care? Like, are they going to, at that point, release him, waive him, or keep him on IR? It's something we'll have to kind of discuss once he's healthy again. But at this point, this feels just like, you know what? Let's just keep him on the roster while we can for now, just in case this Adrian Peterson thing doesn't work out. But when it comes to it, and once we see whether Adrian Peterson is, you know, hit that age wall finally, it could mean curtains for I think Scarborough.
I like that. Let's go over to the Bears off season that has been. This is something I think you, Jeremy, you wanted to touch on. And Ryan, I think you had a few notes here about what the Bears have been doing this off season. So, I mean, biggest name, of course, off the board was Prince Amukamara. Is that the biggest name for you? Because it definitely is for me, just because Prince Amukamara. That's a hell of a name.
Yeah.
But, Clinton Dick's gone too. You know it.
Yeah, I mean, those are definitely two of the biggest names. I think Kyle Long might be the biggest one. He essentially retires. Basically one of the only good pieces of Bears offensive line that really struggled last year. But then you look at all the moves that they made to kind of like counteract that, and everyone kind of seems reactive to me. Like, it doesn't seem proactive. You lose Kyle Long, you get a guy like Jermaine Ifedi, who's not as good. You lose Leonard Foy. Maybe this is the best, kind of, improvement, I guess, from their losses. But they let Leonard Floyd go. They get Robert Quinn, who's a good player. But like you said, they lose Clinton Dix. They get a veteran into Sean Gibson, Prince Amuka Mara. They don't really get anyone in free agency. They go and get Jalen Johnson in the second round of the draft. And then you look else like Jimmy Graham. Is he their Trey Burton replacement? Like, I don't, and there's just nothing else. They didn't add anything else. And then also they lose Eddie Goldman to opting out. So it's just like, that's a huge piece of their interior defensive line. I don't see how this team got any better at all. Am I wrong, Ryan?
You're not wrong. You actually stole my joke when you said that they added Jimmy Graham, and I was going to say that their biggest subtraction was adding Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
Not good. But you also, did you mention Nick Williams?
I didn't
Lions
mention Nick
edition?
Williams. That's
Nick
true.
Williams?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure how huge of a loss that is, but compounded with the Eddie Goldman thing.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you could be hurting along that interior defensive line. I don't think the Bears really they didn't stir the pot in any which way fashionable. I mean, even their draft was rather lackluster because they didn't have a whole lot of picks to begin with.
Right.
Still paying off the Khalil Mack trade to the Raiders. So they didn't really have an opportunity to improve, and they added Nick Foles when they could have had Cam Newton for way cheaper.
Well, I think that dovetails into where I want to go next. I will say, though, it doesn't, even the pieces taking away, I still think they're an incredibly good defense that you're going
no
up
question.
Against.
And
some people are still saying top 5.
I think so too. And I guess the one kind of quote unquote addition this year is the fact that they're getting Akeem Hicks back from injury. The Lions didn't have to face Akeem Hicks at all last year. Getting him back is huge. He's their best interior defensive lineman. The fact that they don't have Eddie Goldman and they don't have Nick Williams will hurt them. But the fact that they're getting Akeem Hicks back might be bigger than both those losses, honestly.
This dovetails into, as I was saying, from what Ryan was talking about with Nick Foles. I thought the Bears would start this year on a multi-ball. They just throw Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky maybe out there at the same time just to see what would happen. Just, we've never seen a 2-quarterback set before in the NFL. I don't even know if it's legal. Why not try it, though? I'm just saying. But they decided to go with Mitch Trubisky. And I guess the only question I really have, and I know where we're going with this because we are going to 100% absolutely dog on Mitch Trubisky, but was it the right choice for the Chicago Bears to go with Mitch Trubisky over Nick Foles?
Well, we're going to get into the spread later on for this game between Lions and Bears, but for now, I mean, this just seems like a really weird bet by the Bears. It seems like this opportunity where they can move on from Mitch Trubisky because they went out and got a guy like Nick Foles who at least has some pedigree and is at least competent at quarterback, but then they decide to stick with Mitch. And I don't know what the play is here. I'm not sure what the play is here. I don't know if this is coming from Pace. I don't know if this is a Nagy thing. I'm not sure where the pressure comes from to start Mitch, but it just seems like so much more sense to play Foles because he's better than Trubisky. Am I wrong, Jeremy?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's cut. It's clear cut necessarily. I know Nick Foles has the Super Bowl ring, and I know he had that wild stretch, but you also have to remember he was horrible in Jacksonville. And so
everybody is, I guess.
And everyone who wasn't horrible in Jacksonville is no longer in Jacksonville.
They're out of there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think it was a clear-cut choice there. And, I mean, the question is, why did they bring him in now? Do you look back now and the fact that they chose Trubisky, was it to give him legitimate competition? Was it to just kind of light a fire under his ass a little bit and be like, hey, listen, we got someone here. You better improve. And maybe it succeeded. Maybe he actually did win out in camp. Or maybe this was, I saw someone throw this out on Twitter, and I'm not saying it's inside sources or anything, but some people just said it was they brought him in to boost his confidence. He was always going to be the starter. They just bring him in, bring in a veteran guy and say, hey, let's challenge each other at training camp. And, oh, you won. Great job, buddy. Now you're a starter. I hope you're feeling good now.
I think that is where I'm leaning, just because it sounds like a Matt Nagyism, is if I've ever heard one.
Right.
Like, Ryan, Matt Nagy just loves these little mind games where it's just like, hey, we're just going to try out kicker after kicker after kicker after kicker, and we're obsessed about this particular yardage that we missed. And hey, now it's, we're going to bring in some guys on these fake tests to boost your confidence, and good job, good effort. Like, I think probably maybe the biggest hindrance to the Bears, besides their quarterback situation, might be Matt Nagy. Just, you can rattle his cage, it seems. And when his cage gets rattled, he goes in really weird places.
And it's so strange that he's such an offensive-minded coach, and he has this great defense in front of him. And I don't know if you will ever be able to put together an offense the way that they put together an offense. And I get I get the tinfoil hat idea that maybe they bring in Nick Foles to boost Trubisky's confidence. I don't know if I buy it to push him and to provide competition, especially with the fact that they declined his 5th-year option. I mean, I think this is truly just, I don't know if it was a competition to push Trubisky. I think it was just a straight up competition. I think it was like, whoever can come in and be the better quarterback is going to be the quarterback. And I'm just so surprised that Nick Foles couldn't beat out Mitch Trubisky. Like, it's an exercise in futility. Like, it's just absolutely, I mean, that had to have been such an interesting camp battle to watch, right? Like, I mean, Trubisky can't throw to his left. Nick Foles is wildly inaccurate. Like, I mean, how do you crown a winner? Shouldn't they have just gone with somebody else?
I don't think they had another option there. I do think, you know what? I think Jonas Knox, who's going to be joining us in a little bit, will have some thoughts on that particular subject, just because, like, it's just weird. And I think that's where we need the insider look. Real quick, we're going to get to this, and then we'll try to get to the break here. But what do we fear? I want to talk matchups a little bit if we could. Like, what do we really fear right here looking at, I fear the Bears defense. That's easy to fear. We just went over all the reasons you should fear it. But what do you really fear on the Bears offense? Because for me, the run game, it depends who's going to be in. I fear a little bit of Tariq Cohen, but I don't think Tariq Cohen can do it every down. But when he does have the ball, Tariq Cohen is a Swiss Army knife, and he can do a little bit of everything. And I think the Lions, he's going to provide the biggest challenge, because he can do that stuff over the middle, and he can, run in multiple schemes. So what do you guys see as like the big matchup that you're going to be keeping your eye on for this game?
Well, my biggest fear of the Bears offense is the Lions defense. I know that's a cheating answer, but like, we still need to figure out who this Lions defense is and where they're strong and where they're weak and all that sort of stuff. And you look at the Bears roster, and there's just not a ton of playmakers there. I mean, there's the aforementioned Jimmy Graham. Allen Robinson is a legit top 10 wide receiver. He's someone that the Lions are going to have to deal with, and it'll be interesting to see if they put Desmond Trufant, a veteran, on him, if Amani Oruwariye starts, or if Jeff Okudah gets thrown into the fire right away. But aside from that, like, yeah, Tariq Cohen's pretty good. Yeah, Cordarrelle Patterson's kind of a weapon that I think they're going to utilize a little more this year, maybe even a little bit in the backfield. I know Corey Unlin, the defensive coordinator, talked about that a little bit today of the Lions. But you also have to remember David Montgomery might not play in this game. He got injured in training camp, and so, yeah, it might be the Tariq Cohen show, and he hasn't really shown the ability to be a workhorse back. So I'm not really afraid of that backfield either. And so, if I'm being honest, like, this is a very early litmus test for this Lions defense not to screw it up. And if they don't pass it, well, it's bad news.
It's bad news Bears, you could say.
I would not. I would never say that.
Overreaction Monday is obviously going to run wild, just because I think people are so football starved that
it's going to be the whole month of September.
It truly will. And here's the thing, though. If the Lions defense goes out and lays an absolute Tyrannosaurus Rex egg against Mitch Trubisky and the Chicago Bears, I'm not taking anything as an overreaction. I'm legit concerned about the defense. even after 1 week. I'm legitimately concerned about the defense.
I think that's fair, but also not fair. It's fair in that, like, here we go again, crap. But at the same time, like, everyone's going to look like crap a little bit in week one because of the offseason. And so I'm willing.
Yeah,
I think every year I kind of try to preach, like, hey, teams improve as the season goes on. How a team looks in week one, it could be drastically different than how they look in week 10. That's especially going to be true this year. And so I want to leave room to allow the Lions to improve. But yes, I'm definitely going to be right there with you, being like, they better get this on track real quick because they're about to face some real quarterbacks in the next couple weeks.
We talked about this in the last episode too. What do we expect to see thrive without a preseason? We expect to see an offensive line struggle to gel together. We expect to see edge rushers thrive. We expect to see backfields really get tested. And look, we can't avoid it. Mitch Trubisky has been good against this Lions defense in past seasons. Just for whatever reason, it's either the scheme or he just gets that look, or maybe he's just the Bears equivalent of Matt Flynn, but he is good against the Lions. So we'll see if that carries on again here. I do know the Lions and again, we'll talk about this with Jonas here in a second. Lions are a 3-point favorite as of the recording on Tuesday in Vegas, but that just means home field advantage, which seems weird because there's not going to be fans there. But yeah, I have nothing else to add there. It's a damn weird opener. It's a divisional opener. We haven't had a lot of those lately. And I'm curious. I just want to see it, man.
Yeah.
You know how I struggle doing previews. I'm going to struggle even more this year because we truly know nothing. Like what do we really know, Ryan? What do we really know about either team right now? Because I feel like still we're talking about their 2019 identities, and all we've done is like maybe say, okay, well, this piece moved away and this piece moved away, but we have no way to gauge what's going to happen in 2020.
No, we really don't. And I mean, does Vegas either? Because when this game opened,
it was a
in the
pick'em.
books. It was a pick'em game, right? And so somehow the Lions, who have kind of like not so sneakily become everybody's darling for the NFC North, whether or not it's a national pundit or a local pundit, like that's moved the line to -3. As Chris mentioned, like that's typical home field advantage. So, I mean, is that more of a reflection of the Lions becoming everybody's darling, or is that literally just, you know what, the Lions aren't the 3-win team from a year ago?
You know what's changed since the opening line? Mitchell Trubisky was named the starting quarterback.
That's a good point. It's a very good point.
And Adrian Peterson. I don't think Adrian Peterson really moves the needle that much.
No, but I think Peterson does give the Lions some depth at running back. If you expect DeAndre Swift to come out of the gate and be proficient, and you expect Adrian Peterson to at least give you some of his historic production, that's better than we can say of the Lions in the past year at the run game.
Sure.
That's like 100% better. And we know that the coaches, they want to establish that run game because it keeps people honest. It does pound the defense a little bit, and then it does set up for your pass game later. And we can bag on it all we want. I can make my meme jokes about the Lions have to establish the run even as the sun devours the earth, but it's true.
Cylinders,
baby. All right,
we're all of the cylinders,
all
pumping, all pumping.
Damn cylinder. I Ryan, you weren't here. I said last week I changed the oil on my car. So I mean, car talk is legitimately reality now.
Yeah, and I replaced a flat tire. So
whoa,
Jeremy, all you need to do is finish that triangle somehow.
I pumped my gas.
That's illegal in New Jersey.
That's like Mitchell Trubisky. Like I completed a pass to the flat and the left. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break here. When we come back from Fox Sports Radio, from overnights, from his Vegas show, we had this guy on last year. He's a blast. He's a friend of mine. He's a coworker of mine, and that is Jonas Knox. He's going to be talking about the Bears. He is a Chicago Bears fan at the end of the day. He's also going to bring some national perspective as well. The NFL is his bread and butter. He loves the NFL. He's so happy that it's back. So me and Jeremy are going to talk to Jonas when we come back on the Pride of Detroit POD cast. Taking a quick break. Don't go nowhere. Starts again here in a few seconds. All right, for those of you watching on Twitch, we're going to do Jonas at the end because Ryan has limited time. So we're going to do our third segment, and then we'll play for you the pre-recorded Jonas interview. So, Jeremy, we do have some people clamoring in the comments. Everyone is rattling at the cage now. I think I've woken up the echoes. We have people asking who are like, do you even address the audience? Yes, we address the audience.
Yeah.
We're doing it right now. Get it out of your system.
I don't know why I'm typing instead of just saying the words out loud. Davey, the survival and pick'em leagues, I'll put them up tomorrow. I totally spaced today. But yeah, those will be up. What else was asked earlier when I was being... we have a 30-17 prediction. Lions win over the Bears. We have an FTB, which I think I know what that means, but I'm not going to say it out loud because it's naughty. Usually you see FTP in Lions Land, but FTB... we stand for the hashtag we own the Bears over that. I think that's a little more.
Yeah, I was going to say FTP. Are you talking about like the file server protocol?
Yes.
No?
Yep.
Oh, I get it now. Okay.
By the way, GFX, thank you for the follow. And Killa B, thanks for the follow. So yeah, if you guys got any questions, we usually take about 5 minutes between breaks if you're new to our Twitch channel
Yeah, we'll take a bit longer one in the second break, I think, too. Just to chat it up.
Sure.
But.
Why does POD have a pick'em league? I want in. Yes, we usually do. It's limited. We do it through Yahoo, and I think they only allow like 100 or so. So we'll put the post up probably around noon tomorrow with the ID and the password. So just be on the lookout on pridedetroit.com for that.
Dre Army gives us file transfer bro to call. And honestly, as a former web developer, I have never wanted something more in my life. Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
Me, I'm doing great.
Okay.
Uncle Indigo asked, specifically, Ryan, how are you doing?
Oh, he specifically asked how I'm doing.
Yeah. This isn't me asking that.
Oh, okay.
Chris doesn't care.
How am I doing?
However,
my leg's still broken. My leg's still broken. I'm trying to get this thing fixed, man. It's really hard to walk around all day on one leg, and I just wish some people that were in charge of my paycheck were a little bit more understanding of that. But I'm doing great.
How's the other leg? Because I view your legs as half broken, as half not broken.
Half healthy. Going by the law of averages, I mean.
You know what? The left one is actually really upset with me. It's even more upset with me than my right one is because it's just doing all of the hopping around. Like my like right here, like I'm getting so strong in my left ass cheek from hopping around all day.
That is a quote for the ages right there. Just making yourself ass cheeks strong. You'll adopt a superhero identity from all the rigorous training your ass is taking. You'll become ass man and fight crime.
With my, I need my sidekick to be Cylinders, and he could be like a horse that I ride.
Sidekick.
Because I only have one leg.
Yeah. I want to read this comment from Foxy Grandpa, and then we should probably get back into it here soon. But quick thanks to you guys for the fun over the years. Got me through my high school and early college years so far. Appreciate you guys. Feel better, Ryan.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Foxy.
Appreciate
I know this is now year 5. This is year 5.
Yeah. I took over 5 years ago in 2015, right before the season. And the podcast was born shortly thereafter.
Yep. And then Caldwell's ass got on the hot seat right away. So clearly we have been a force for evil in this world.
That's one way of looking at it.
The other one I wanted to quickly address before we jump back in, Killa B asked, do you think this is Kerryon's last year? I do.
Ooh.
I do. I know he's got, one more year on his contract after this? I mean,
that makes me sad. We have a friend of the show from the college side, Megan Wardang Meg, and I know she's like an Auburn fan. And she was happy when we've had her on the podcast before for some very serious stuff way in the past, but I know she's like an Auburn fan. She was happy when we got Kerryon Johnson, but yeah, it seems like the Lions are moving on from him pretty quickly.
I mean, just all you have to do is look at them. They drafted 2 running backs this year. They brought in Adrian Peterson. Like, I know part of that is like, and they won't admit it, is just like, well, we need to have our ass covered in case of injury. But you draft a guy 35th overall, you're like, that mindset is, hey, we need a new starting running back. And
and this is going to be the second time it's happened in this 5-year span too, because we did the same thing with Amir Abdullah.
Yeah, Amir Abdullah wasn't working out, so we got Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson not working out, so we getting DeAndre Swift. Like, guys, what have I been saying? Don't draft a running back high. It's not going to work out. You're wasting your time. Hopefully we're not in the same situation 3 years down the road from DeAndre Swift. But I mean,
God,
how can you conclusively say that when he's already dealing with a leg injury?
How do we keep messing on these guys?
How can you also say that too when it takes like Alvin Kamara sitting out of practice for 4 days to get a contract extension? I mean,
right.
Just what's the likelihood of any running back in the NFL these days to survive for a second contract with the team that drafted them?
Yeah. When's the last like good story of a running back that's lasted past their rookie contract with that team? Like Ezekiel Elliott, kind of.
Frank Gore.
Frank Gore is indestructible. I think it is Zeke. I really do think it is maybe Zeke. But like, I mean,
so it's a very rare occurrence. Essentially,
just started. He has plenty of time to screw that pooch.
Right.
Yes.
And if you're talking about Frank Gore's second contract, you're talking 20 years ago.
Yeah. A loaf of bread was $1.
Joe Mixon, maybe. I mean, he just got his extension, a couple days ago. We'll have to see and how that one plays out. But
I don't know.
I think
did McCaffrey already get one?
Yeah, he got
he got paid.
This offseason?
This offseason, yeah.
Okay, well, you can't count that yet. We don't know what it's like on the other side yet. Because, I mean, you look at a guy
people
like...
are going to be hyping up... People are going to be hyping McCaffrey for a long time, man. Long after, I think, maybe some rot...
We're dead and gone.
No. Like, I just feel like McCaffrey could start to rot this year, and people will still hype him for various reasons. Because this is a guy that has had, like... And I'm going to leave out all the weirdness because I know this. We're kind of harking back to 5 years ago when I got in trouble for going after another white running back. But
Derry Sanders.
No, but McCaffrey's had so much hype since Stanford. Like, I remember seeing him in college, and people were like, "Oh my God, this is like the best running back I've ever seen." And did McCaffrey win a Heisman? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think so, but I don't know.
Because I remember, like, he didn't. But I remember people seeing, like, okay, so he finished second to Derrick Henry, and I think
a second contract, right?
Yeah, there we go. But I remember
the thing that's unfair is all those guys just signed deals,
right? We have to kind of wait and see how far into those second contracts they get. That's kind of my whole point. Take the Greek with 100 bits just says mom's spaghetti. Since he
Audible Dong asking me if I'm here full time just for the season right now. And actually, Jeremy, I need to talk to you with something about that because I saw some changes with the SB Nation and podcast people. So we got to keep our eyes open for that.
I don't even know what that's about, but we'll talk about it.
No. We'll train doesn't stop for the rest of the season. I am here. Yes.
All right. Should we get back to it? Get Ryan out of here by 9. So,
yeah, he's got to be an old man and sleep early. And then afterwards, everyone, it's not the end of the podcast. Once Ryan's gone, we are going to replay for you. Me and Jeremy are going to sit here. We're going to replay for you the segment we did with Jonas Knox. When you're listening to the podcast afterward, that's going to go in the middle of the podcast. So it's going to be a different order, but we like Jonas. Jonas is great. We got Jeremy to laugh, so we are going to play that for you. And you're going to have the video from it, too, including a not flattering picture of Jonas himself that we have used seemingly without his permission, but he doesn't care. So, okay, let's do it.
Thanks for another 100 bits, Uncle. Appreciate it.
Bam.
Oh, and Nick the Greek. Thank you.
No, he wants to get another hype trainer.
No, we're not doing it. We can't do the hype trainer. I mean, you can do it, but I'm not going to acknowledge you until the end of the next segment.
We can't address it until the segment's over. Yeah. All right, let's go. And we're back on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Thanks again for Jonas Knox for joining us. Again, you find him on Twitter at the Jonas Knox. I'm doing it again there, Jeremy, not at the Jonas Knox. You just when you see a the there, you just want to say the.
It is.
And I blame Ohio State. I blame that school down south for you guys, for you Michigan people, that this is the way it is. It's in our collective brains.
You've now mentioned that college 3 times, and I think
4 times.
4 times?
Yeah.
Well, stop, please.
Yeah. I probably can't. See, that's the thing. Is like I'm a neutral party. I'm not Sparty. I'm not Wolverine. I'm none of those, man. I'm the man from the border. I'm from Toledo. All right. Well, with all that in the books, I think the big question is, because we don't have a preseason, Ryan, Jeremy, we don't have a preseason. Shocker, I know. But we have questions we need to get answered from this game. It is part of what makes the season so different. We're going to be learning a lot of things from the season that we need to learn. So I want to ask you guys first, what are we going to learn about from the Lions in this game? What do you want to learn about from the Lions in this game? And what do you want to learn about from the Bears in this game? Because we're going to have to see the Bears again later in the season. So what do you want to learn from these two teams? I'm going to start with you, Ryan. What do you want to learn?
I want to learn that this offensive line from Jump Street, from week 1, can...
For the Lions.
For the Lions, I want to see that this offensive line can withstand what the Bears can throw at it. Because, I mean, this is going to be quite the test week 1. I think Corey Unlin talked about it. When you have Khalil Mack coming off one edge and Robert Quinn coming off the other edge, that's no joke. And the Lions recently paid up for their franchise left tackle in Taylor Decker. They made a switch at right tackle in the offseason to get Halapuli Vaitai. I just think that if the Lions can come out of it, in order for me to be impressed with them, they need to not only keep Stafford upright, but also, I don't want to have to say it, but they have to run the football. Those things have to happen for Matt Patricia, a Matt Patricia led team to experience success. We talk about how that one game,
Dolphins?
2 years ago against the Dolphins was the blueprint, right? I don't think anything has changed in Matt Patricia's formula, even by adding Darrell Bevel. I think he's even gotten closer to that. I think TJ Hawkinson, and you're gonna see a lot of tight end tight to the line. It's gonna be one of the black and blue games, but the Lions have to go out and do it. And I've been so adamant about how they've, Bob Quinn's poured so many resources, whether or not it's draft capital or free agent money, into building this offensive line. This is going to be the year that makes or breaks Bob Quinn. I think a lot of us agree with that. This is going to be the year where whatever
rubber hits the road.
There's the phrase I was looking for.
Car talk. More car talk.
More car talk.
More car talk. No, here.
I mean, it could very well. I think, Ryan, we just mentioned this off here. This is the 5th year of the PODcast. And we started that first season, you and me, Ryan, we were sitting there and we saw what happened when Martha Firestone Ford cleared out the front office and then the coach kept going. We could very well see the same situation happen. To what you're describing here, we could see Quinn get the boot before Patricia.
It's always possible. But to kind of go off of Ryan's point there, I do think the offensive line needs to show up, and I don't know if they're going to do it right away. I have my doubts. I've never been a huge fan of the Halapuli Vaitai signing, and I don't know if it's going to come together right away for Jonah Jackson either, right next to him. But you're right in that it's dressed we need to see that improvement, because it's not going to stop after the Bears. The Packers are up next, and they got a pair of their own really good pass rushers. And then when they have to eventually play the Vikings, well, guess what? They just got a brand new present on their defensive line. So you're absolutely right. We need to see some sort of glimpses of it all working together. I'm not very confident that it will happen, and it's unfortunate the Lions are going to be tested with maybe the best defensive line in the division right away. But yeah, that's definitely a big key for Sunday.
I think what I want to see from the Lions, what needs to be tested is, we talked about this last week, Jeremy. Like, I'm not going to go with the run game. I want to see the run game tested. I want to see the defense tested. But in the sake of having a different answer here, and something I feel like is going to be important for me, and probably maybe the other side here, is that I want to see. We talked about this last week, Jeremy. We talked about who is going to have good times in this weird season with no preseason. We talked about who's going to have bad times. And I think for me, I think the bellwether for this season is how well Stafford does against the Bears defense. And I think, because of their backfield, I kind of want to see him get off to a strong start. I really do. And I think probably this also dovetails into that. I want to see the offensive scheming play to what the strength of the Lions is. I don't want to see a lot of wasted downs to a run game when it's clear that the run game isn't getting off the ground. If you're establishing that pound and you're trying to wear down the defense like Jonas talked about in our previous segment, great, fantastic. That's cool. But at some point, you have to remember that your biggest weapon is Stafford, and I don't want to see him in a lot of third and long situations. I want to see him put in positions where he can thrive. And I think we talked about the heart on Stafford. We've talked about the offseason. He seems fired up, and everyone expects him to build off 2019. And I think a lot of that will come with, is his strengths being played to with this offense? I want to see that. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking all offseason about how the stars seem to be aligned for Stafford this season with all the offensive weapons he has, with the second year under Darrell Bevell, with what we saw last year in the first 8 games. We just but we've hyped ourselves up like this before, right? Like we've come off really good Matthew Stafford seasons before, and maybe not seen the exact same thing come out the next year. And I mean, in most aspects of NFL, what you see at the end of last year is not necessarily what you see at the beginning of the next year. I mean, we saw that with the Lions' run defense in 2018. We all came into 2019 thinking, wow, this defense is going to be even better. Damon Harrison's going to have a full offseason and all that stuff, and it didn't turn out the way it did. So I'm with you in that, we're all hyping up this Stafford offense and passing game and all that, and I'm among that group. But if it doesn't show up on Sunday, then what? Then what's this team's identity?
Yeah, hey man, listen, things change wildly in between NFL seasons. I think I don't know if we talked off air about this, but running backs, how many of them they see a great year from a running back and then it just peters to nothing? Things change in a blink in the NFL. Quarterbacks can get signed with really good years and then something falls apart. Yips come and go in this league like crazy. I'm not saying Stafford is going to get that. That's insane. I think he's proven himself in the long run, but we're talking about I wanted to see him have a top 5 quarterback year. And I think a lot of the success of the team is going to hinge on him having that kind of year. And if he doesn't have that kind of year, then we have to rethink things. We do. Okay, Ryan, what do we want to learn about the Bears in this game?
I just want confirmation that their offense is going to be as bad as I think it is. I don't want to all of a sudden see some leap from Mitch Trubisky. How awful would it be if Mitch Trubisky took a leap? And I know that we have to be able to, not realize that everybody's successes are our failures. But man, I just do not want to see Mitch Trubisky do the things that he's done to the Detroit Lions in the past couple of seasons, because then at that point, I'm kind of like Jeremy, what now? What's your identity on defense? You can't stop Mitch Trubisky. If you can't stop Mitch Trubisky, then Jeremy talked about, in the first segment, there are so many quarterbacks that are going to be playing the Detroit Lions that aren't going to be the level of Mitch Trubisky. We're talking top tier quarterbacks. If the Lions can't stop Mitch Trubisky and the passing attack of the Bears, I'm very, very concerned. Yeah. Very concerned.
And that was kind of going to go off my answer of what I'm looking for in the Lions as well, is just I really want to see the secondary come together, because for all we've moaned and groaned about the pass rush and how bad it was last year and how they didn't really address it too much this year, I'm really kind of curious about that secondary, because it wasn't good last year. And yes, the pass rush was part of that, but it wasn't all of it. Justin Coleman did not look good in the second half of the season for no apparent reason. Like, the secondary actually looked really solid in the first 3 or 4, even 5 weeks of the season, and then it just dropped off suddenly, and that's where you saw everything fall apart. And so the Lions have a lot of moving parts now in the secondary. They have Jeff Okudah. They have Desmond Trufant. They have Desmond Trufant. They have Duron Harmon is what I was trying to say. So, like, they have a lot of new pieces that are very promising. We know Justin Coleman is capable of playing the way he did in the first month of the season last year. If they can all come together, I think we'll start forgetting about the pass rush at least a little bit. I mean, obviously we'll want it there, but I think this is a really favorable matchup for the Lions. I think they don't have a lot of receiving threats. I think outside of Allen Robinson, I think, Tracy Walker, I don't think he should have a problem locking up Jimmy Graham. And then who else do you have to worry about? Ted Ginn? I'm not afraid of that passing offense. And you're right. If the Bears come knocking and the Lions aren't there to answer the door, like, things are about to get a little sketchy when we have to travel to Green Bay to play Aaron Rodgers next week.
Aaron Rodgers, who might have a fire lit under him, who knows? Who knows after what's been going on with him and Jordan Love. Is that what you fear about the Bears, Jeremy, or is this what you want to learn, or do you have something else?
I mean, what I fear is still their defense, their pass rush. In terms of what I want to learn from them, I mean, I guess it's similar with Ryan. Like, is Matt Nagy actually going to be a good coach this year? Because I don't want him to be, but if he is, Ryan mentioned at the top, like, this team already has an elite defense. If they have an elite offensive mind and that clicks, like, Bears could be in good shape for years to come. Like, maybe once Khalil Mack's, contract really starts to hamstring them a little bit, maybe they won't be able to keep the defense together, but I'm not betting against their defense for at least a year or two because it's good. It wasn't great last year, but it's their baseline, their floor is good. Their ceiling is fantastic, great, elite, whatever adjective you want to use. So if Matt Nagy can get the offense working, then this is a team that we're going to have to deal with for several years at the top of the NFC North.
What I want to learn is on the defense from the Chicago Bears, and that is with 2 of their stars. One, they're getting back Akeem Hicks. I want to know what Akeem Hicks looks like. He's been phenomenal in the past. I'm curious what he's going to look like coming back from he's had a year away. He's got to come back, and I'm curious what that's going to look like. And then Khalil Mack. I mean, I know Khalil Mack. He said himself he doesn't feel he was good enough in 2019. He thought he had a subpar 2019. I want to see if that's true, or if Khalil's just going to continue to struggle. And I think that kind of goes a long way to what Jeremy's talking about, in that how long are the Lions going to have to contend with this boogeyman of the Bears defense sitting there across Lake Michigan, staring at you in the standings every year, that you have to play that defense twice a year, no matter where this team goes, no matter what happens with this team, that is going to be sitting there. And I think it starts with how good are Akeem Hicks and how good is Khalil Mack.
No question. Those are the 2 guys that the Lions are going to have to really key in on when they're on offense, and they're really, I wouldn't say they're only threats. A guy like Eddie Jackson, obviously in the secondary, is a playmaker, and he's made Stafford look foolish several times in the past. But if they can handle those guys on the defensive front, the Lions are going to have a really good chance to win this game and maybe even win it decisively.
All right, let's get into predictions, thoughts. I know we used to do things we think we know. That's what we do when it's first bite. So why don't we do things we think we know going into this game as our predictions? So, Ryan, what do you think you know about this game?
One thing I think I know about this game is that I would not even think twice about putting money on this game. There's no way I'm touching the Lions at -3. There's no way I'm touching the Bears at +3. No way. So as a bettor, I'm just looking at that line and I'm saying +3. So I'm going to rely on a Chicago Bears place kicker. Absolutely not. And then also, I don't know if I can trust this Lions team, because the one thing Jeremy and I have talked about all offseason long was that the Lions got different. We don't know if they got better. We don't know if they got worse, but they certainly got different. And they got different at a bunch of different positions. whether or not it's cornerback, your starting cornerback, whether or not it's replacing your starting linebacker, if you want to see, Devon Kennard getting swapped out for Jamie Collins, or if it's the interior of your defense, swapping out Snacks Harrison and whatever kind of player he was last season to Danny Shelton. I mean, you're talking about players at every single level. Daron Harmon, you're talking about players at every single level. Desmond Trufant for Darius Slay. Like, all these guys getting shipped out and bringing new guys in, I have to see it before I can believe it. And I know that goes against my season prediction, but I made that prediction while I was feeling pretty good about myself. So
that's a condition we all do. That's a temporary condition we all deal with, is like, hey, this is a moment
Optimism.
of hope. Hope, optimism, belief that, and it will come back and bite you in the ass and make you look foolish. That's the operating procedure of the Detroit Lions. Jeremy, what do you think you know?
I'm just gonna straight go for it. I think I know about Bears Lions week 1 is that we won't have to deal with this bullshit line that Mitchell Trubisky owns the Lions. It's not happening anymore. I don't care that he's had 3 touchdowns in the last 3 games against the Lions. We have a different defensive coordinator. Ryan just went over all the crazy defensive players that are new to this team. It's not going to happen again. This matchup on paper looks good in the Lions' favor. Maybe they don't get to Mitchell Trubisky and force him out of the pocket and things like that. But who is he going to throw to that the Lions can't cover? Allen Robinson is the only answer to that question, and I think the Lions know that, and I think they'll be fine. I think Trubisky throws more interceptions and touchdowns in this game.
I think I know that, and if I can give 2 answers here, I'm cheating, but you know what? I'll just do one, and that is that all of this consternation that we keep doing, and maybe I'm a little keyed into it because I work in sports talk radio and other places, but I'm so tired of hearing about the COVID stuff, and we're just gonna have a fun game on Sunday. It's also gonna make us really mad. I think that we're going to be, in various. I saw Jeremy shaking his head. I mean, it's gonna make us mad in that once again we're dealing with the Lions and the Bears, and we're dealing with no preseason. I think I know that this is going to be a sloppy, weird game. It's not going to be a polished game. I think people on that Monday are going to start complaining that it's not going to look like NFL football, and it shouldn't look like NFL football because we haven't had a damn preseason. And besides that, week 1 already looks weird every time. Jonas talked about how bad it is for him to bet on week 1 in the NFL, and yet he says he also can't stay away from it. It's going to look weird. It's going to look sloppy. And I think it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top of this. I think weird and sloppy, though, favors the Bears a little bit. But as long as Stafford can stick above weird and sloppy, the Lions have a puncher's chance in this. They really do. They really, really do. That's not good analysis, but it's all I've got left. It's been a long show already.
We can't give analysis. We haven't seen anything. We're throwing darts.
180. All right, game ball predictions. Before we even play it down, who do you think we're going to end up giving a game ball to, Ryan?
TJ Hawkinson, because he plays really well in the first game of the season.
Wow, look at you. Jeremy.
I'm only doing this because of what I just said about Mitchell Trubisky and because POD Reno is in our chat. Amani Oruwariye, 2 interceptions.
That sounds awesome. By the way, if you're listening on the podcast, you don't know what just happened. Jeremy just put his lips to his microphone and overmodulated. I apologize.
Amani Oruwariye, 2 interceptions.
Now look at him. Now he's doing ASMR. Like, can you believe this guy? Can you believe this guy?
Versatile.
Can you believe the range this man has?
Yeah. Could you, like, he doesn't like ASMR, folks. You can get that on Twitch in a very popular category, ASMR. We do it here, twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit, and you can catch Jeremy doing that and more. Maybe munching on a sweet mozzarella stick every now and then, petting his dog's hair. It's
hey, I think the best ASMR we can get this weekend would be some audible dong.
That is
damn right. And with no fans in the stands, it's gonna really dong too.
It's going to really ring, and when you hear that audible dong, you will hear Matt Nagy's soul shatter as Goose Island once again rolls out the promotions to see who can kick a field goal, and Matt Nagy's soul descends once again into Avernus. And Catholic stuff from there. Who knows? I'm going to give the game ball here without knowing a damn thing to DeAndre Swift. Because I think in the grand tradition of Lions, brand new running backs, he's going to have a great first game. And then maybe we might have some questions. Who knows? But like we've seen this in the past. Like I still remember Amir Abdullah's first game against the Chargers, where we all thought he was going to be great and fantastic. Hopefully Swift is better than that. But I do think the offense is going to try to involve Swift out of the gate pretty well.
We'll see.
They're going to
Fair enough.
Yeah. This is fun. This whole offseason was a slog. I hated being away from it. I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the season. I intend to be here for the entire season, but it's good to have the gang back. All three. This is the first time. No, we did a podcast before with all three of us, but it's just been like first podcast where we've had all three of us just chatting among ourselves. It feels like old times.
It feels real now. Real.
Back, baby. Nothing to add, Ryan?
I'm just happy to be here.
You're serious so you don't get fined, or are you just happy to be here?
Both.
Thank you.
It's 9:01. I'm done.
All right. Yeah, Ryan's got to go. We've got to go. Subscribe on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pride Detroit to watch it live. YouTube to see these on replay. Podcast networks like Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio. Get the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, and make sure you're downloading each week. It helps us out. We have a lot planned. If you haven't noticed from this week how much was being thrown on our podcast feed, we've got a lot of plans for the season, man. And I feel like me and Jeremy, when we sit down to do the post-game show, it's going to feel like no time has passed. The only thing that's going to be different is we will have watched a football game play and nerded the hell out about it. For myself, for Jeremy, for Ryan, at Detroit Online for Jeremy, for Ryan, at Ryan_POD, the Rock God, as always. For myself, Chris Perfett, at Chris Perfett on Twitter, PERFETT. I hate that I have to spell it out, but I do. Football's back, baby, and we'll talk to you guys next time after the Lions have played a game. See you Starside. All right, we're out. If you're watching on Twitch, do not go anywhere. We're not done. We're going to play the Jonas segment and then do some questions before and after. With Twitch, I just know Ryan has to get going.
Everyone say goodbye to Ryan. Say goodbye to Ryan. Throw some gooses in the chat.
Oh, yeah, I think some people wanted a goose appearance before you go.
He's not living with Ryan right now.
Oh. I'm sorry. I just hit a...
I'll just cry myself to sleep.
I'm sorry.
As I was not anticipating doing.
I'm sorry. There is a
Bye,
Zazu
boys.
request. Bye, Ryan.
Beautiful.
Love you. Oh, you guys can't see that guy. Move.
Yeah, don't see the bear.
Oh, God.
Don't see the bear behind the logo. The bear.
Zazu,
the
come here.
illest of omens.
Come here. Chat wants to see you, Zazu. Oh!
I'm going to go turn on the AC while you do that.
All right. If you want, guys, we'll answer some questions for the next 5 minutes, and then we're going to throw the Jonas segment up here after that, and then we'll answer some questions after that as well.
Yep. All right. What's up, buddy?
Trying to figure out if I want to play a betting fantasy football league. What does that even mean? Hey, don't lick your wound. Don't lick that. Don't lick that. Don't lick that. I put antibiotics on you.
Oh, actually, you know what? I think I can take the Craig bot out right now, actually, if you want to just...
Yeah, might as well. We don't need it. You think we rush 3 less this year? I do. I think with the depth the Lions have at linebacker, I think we're going to see them be a lot more active this year. I really do. I put out my grades for every position today on prideofdetroit.com, and the one thing I came away looking at was that they're really deep at linebacker. They're not that talented. In fact, I kind of like their non-starters better than their starters. Like I view the starters as Jared Davis, Jamie Collins, Christian Jones. I like Jamie Collins a lot. I don't like those other two a lot. I do kind of like Reggie Ragland. I do kind of like Jalen Reeves-Maben. I do kind of like, who am I missing? There's someone else that I'm missing. I can't think of it. Who am I missing, chat? I'm losing my mind right now. Who haven't I mentioned? Oh, Jelani Tavai. I'm starting to like Jelani Tavai a little bit. I kind of believe him a little bit better at middle linebacker. I see chat saying I'm done with Davis at middle linebacker. Yeah, I think by the season's end we might see Jelani Tavai take that over. And yeah, Okwara too. I didn't even mention Okwara. Like those are guys that I kind of like. I like Okwara as the team's jack linebacker going forward. It won't happen right away, but he'll be better than Christian Jones.
Sorry,
eventually.
are we talking Romeo or are we talking
Julian?
No, we're talking Julian. Yeah. I'm spoiling what's going to come out. I think tomorrow is Rookies of the Year, right?
Yes.
Jeremy on the website.
Yep.
So I screwed up. I did not fill out my Defensive Player of the Year. I meant to. I just completely screwed up the email to Jeremy. I wasn't making a sassy point when I said nobody's going to be the defensive MVP, but I do have Julian Okwara as my Rookie of the Year for the Lions.
Spoiler, dude.
Yeah, I know, but I mean that's just how much I like him. That's just, I think we talked about it before, Jeremy, in the last podcast, and that he's probably not going to be a starter for the year. But that's also because I see this roster's starters being really flexible through this year, throughout all of September.
Yeah,
because there hasn't been a preseason. You're going to get to see guys. I think by October, every staff around the NFL is going to say, "All right, this guy's really showing me what I like from him. He's going to get the starter role now."
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of switching. And I think even with the Lions linebackers, I think you're going to see them use a lot of them a lot. Like Reggie Ragland isn't a guy who we saw a ton in camp. He obviously made some good impressions there, but he wasn't ever really with the starting lineup. And he's a guy that I expect them to rotate in a significant amount, like 20-30% of snaps. I wouldn't be surprised to see Reggie Ragland get next on Sunday.
I hate to do this to Reggie, but I just hear Reggie Ragland, and I feel like I want to say his name in a Scooby-Doo voice every time.
You're not alone.
Reggie Ragland. I like this question from El Gato Diablo. Will Quintus Cephas get legit playing time? My answer is yes. I think I was on with the Chicago Audible last night, and I told them the one name that I don't think Bears fans know that is on the Lions roster is Quintez Cephas. I think, he's going to start as a change of down wide receiver, but I think he is flexible, that he will fit the scheme the Lions want to play.
Yeah, he'll eventually kind of be that big slot role that a lot of people like to use the Anquan Bolden comparison, and I think it's fair in terms of just like usage, what they want to do with him. Talent maybe not quite there. I don't think we're going to see him though for at least a month. Like he was looking good in camp, but the depth chart there at wide receiver is just so deep right now, and
it's loaded.
I mean, there's a chance if they go 4 wide that he'll get in there for 5 snaps in the opener or something like that. But don't expect to see him like as a legitimate part of the offense. Maybe not even in his entire rookie season, but definitely not until at least I would say November.
Okay, so I'm in the wrong there. So
I mean, yeah, no one's right or wrong yet. I could be wrong. It's happened like once before.
We could all be wrong.
There was an offensive line question or something. Do you think the O-line will do better knowing that if Stafford gets hurt again, the season is over? I hope they don't need that sort of motivation. I hope they knew that going into last year. I don't think that'll play into it necessarily, but they know what their job is. They know it's on the line. They know if they don't perform, then they're out of here, and I think that should be enough motivation for anybody. Any interviews with Bears reporters on the way? We're about to play an interview with the Bears fan who's also on the radio, Jonas Knox. We don't have a Bears reporter this week, if that's what you're asking. We'll probably do a 5 questions up on the website. I think it did.
Yeah, our longtime guy who we usually do Bears stuff with, Robert Zaglinski. I know he's his life is changing, and I'm really happy for him. He's explained his plans to me before, but I know he is scaling back some of his Bears coverage this year, and I think we are going to save kind of the nitty gritty. Hey, let's get an SB Nation guy kind of Bears stuff, probably for December when the Bears play, when we do have like a better idea of who everyone is. But I don't want to downplay my guy Jonas. He's very funny. You guys are gonna love this interview. I guaranteed you're gonna like this interview we did with Jonas, and he is gonna give you some really solid nuggets on the Bears. I know it's not like we're not pulling from the Bears beat staff or anything, but I mean, we weren't beat guys at all when we started doing this crap. So
you guys, you should get a size up on that shirt so we can redeem the points twice so you can put on. No.
mud stick layers.
No.
Sticks on sticks.
Just by the end of it, I'm wearing 15 shirts. That's not happening. Who do you want as RB1? Who do I want? I guess DeAndre Swift. Who do I think it might be in week 1? I think Kerryon Johnson is the first one they trot out there, but I mentioned it on the Adrian Peterson podcast. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get the majority of the touches in week 1. I really wouldn't.
He is historically a Bear. He eats the Bears pretty well historically. That's one thing I did notice. I have noticed all these years about Adrian Peterson. Like some of my Bears fans that I know, a lot of them, they all say the same thing. Adrian Peterson historically does well against the Bears. I don't know if it counts for much of anything because it's not like he's been a Viking for a while, right. But that's there.
All right. I'll take maybe one or two and then we'll get into this interview because I want to get out of here so I can do a little bit of work for tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm watching the end of this Heat Bucks game too. So
got some questions about Galladay's contract. I see you guys talking about it a little bit. I still expect it to get done. I know we're already into almost Wednesday at this point, but it's not. I mean, you see that there's extensions being done every day this week, and it's not. Hopkins got his today, and it's just how teams run. So I think it gets done in the next 3 days before they go into full preparation mode on Saturday. Early as tomorrow, I suspect. I mean, there was those reports last week that said it was about to get done, and then Rappaport came out and dumped cold water on that. I was like, no, they're not even talking yet. So we'll see. I'd be very surprised based on everything this team has said about Kenny Galladay, based on everything we've seen from Kenny Galladay, based on this team's history of paying paying wide receivers if he doesn't get a deal. And I would expect it probably in like the 17, 18, maybe even 19 million a year range because that's a going rate now. All right,
real quick. Yeah, let's get to this interview. I was going to say we have some non-NFL news if I can share it real quick because I do see, like, if you follow other sports, I did see the Woj bomb. Billy Donovan's out as an Oklahoma City Thunder coach. Sorry, my brain's all over the place. I'm doing general sports stuff right now. But I think, yes, Jeremy, right now, can you throw it to the interview we did with Jonas Knox?
Yep, we're going to do that right now.
All right, guys, we're going to do that right now. So this is pre-recorded. We have it up here. So me and Jeremy will chat with you guys in chat. When we come back, we'll take some more questions, then we'll close out the show.
All right, see you on the other side, guys.
Yep. Joining us on the phone now, we're back on the Pride of Detroit POD cast. I give you all the spiel, you know where to find us. Joining us on the phone now from Fox Sports Radio, he is the host of the Jonas Knox Show. He's on the weekends with Bucky Brooks, Brady Quinn, and every week with Straight Out of Vegas. He is the Jonas Knox at the Jonas Knox. He's doing that Ohio State thing, so we have to put him on blast for that. How's it going, Jonas?
Hold on. Okay, hold on. Let me just explain that. All right, because first of all, it's just a habit. I don't even mean it like that at the. I don't even mean it like that. I should say at the, but for whatever reason, every time I try and do it, I can't. I don't know what it is. So I like it's like a psychological mental block that I can't get out there. And then secondly, I had my own name at Jonas Knox. I had that, but I can't get back into the account. And I've messaged Twitter multiple times. I said, hey, you can take your blue check mark and stick it up you know where. I just want at Jonas Knox so I don't sound like a douchebag when I'm saying at the Jonas. Like, who is like, what, some overnight weekend radio hack who used to be a busboy Fridays? Like, it makes me sound so pretentious. It's all garbage. But nonetheless, I had to clear that up. So.
And as you have mentioned on your show many times before, I used to be the rat at Chuck E. Cheese's too.
Yeah, you name it. Listen, janitor, rat. I stocked. I was a stock guy at Tuesday Morning. That was misery. I was a maintenance guy at Toys R Us. I was a bus boy. My own brother fired me. He was a bar manager at a Mexican restaurant. I was a bus boy, and my brother fired me. I worked at a retirement home. I did landscaping, curb painting. I mean, you name it. I've done it all. Done it all.
And just so you know,
Like
I looked online. At JKnox NFL is available. Just if you're curious.
Yeah, I'll pass. I'm good. Thank you, though. With the reaction I got from my NFL picks the other night, I'm out. Well, don't stay away from that.
Those are going to come up here in a second because I was on that
to
show when you gave your NFC North picks. As full disclosure, I am the technical producer for Jonas's Friday overnight show, so we have some fun there. But all that background there is to illustrate that Jonas does. I think he talks everything in the NFL, but I feel like we're having him on here to just talk about the Chicago Bears because it's who the Lions are facing right now. And I always like getting Jonas's opinions because I do see some of your, like, you keep the personal out of it, but every time you start talking about Matt Nagy or Mitch Trubisky, I can feel it a little bit from you sometimes.
Well, yeah, it's like that's the team when I grew up that I was a Bears fan. And I became a Bears fan because my brother, we didn't have, a lot of money growing up. And so I remember getting a T-shirt, but it was a hand-me-down from my brother, and it was a Chicago Bears T-shirt, like the old school with the 2-bar face mask. And I wore that thing every day. And ever since then, that became my team. But then when you get into sports radio, especially nationally, you can't really – and first of all, it's just healthier not being so obsessed with one team because ultimately they're just going to rip your heart out and then urinate on it in the street in front of you. And so I felt like not getting decapitated every single time I watched the Bears play football. So I said, I just need to distance myself. But nevertheless, I mean – I still follow him. I still know what's going on. I've had the opportunity. Mike North and I, the great Mike North, did a Bears podcast a few years ago. It was so much fun because they were bad, and it made it even more fun. So yeah, it's just so anytime we can talk Bears, I'm always up for it. It scratches the itch a little bit.
Well, speaking of bad, let's start with the quarterback situation where I thought Matt Nagy was going to start the year doing something akin to a multi-ball with his quarterbacks, just throw, Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky out there together and just let them bounce off each other. But he seems to have settled on Mitch. Is that the right call?
Yeah, I think it's the right call. And some people are looking at this as, oh my God. And I'll be honest with you. One of the things when I was looking at the situation, I just thought, well, Trubisky's the one that makes sense just based on the fact that he was a number 2 pick. He's going to get every opportunity to succeed or fail because they invested so much in him and moving up the spot to take him when they probably didn't have to. And so because of that, Mitch Trubisky, you felt like automatically had the advantage. He was the guy, and everybody sort of had an understanding that Trubisky's going to get first crack at this because if you go to Foles right off the bat, you can't go back to Trubisky. It's just you've already let him know that you haven't picked up his 5th-year option and that he didn't beat out Nick Foles, who couldn't beat out Gardner Minshew in Jacksonville for the job. So that would just tell Mitch, hey, man, it's over here. Like that's just the bottom line. And so my thinking on that was very standard, not really a genius take, kind of an obvious one. And that was leading all the way up until this past weekend when I did my NFL season preview picks. And Chris, you and I've talked about it on the air. You've been on those shows. And then I got a little bit of intel from somebody. How can I put this to where I'm not airing anybody out? Somebody who has direct knowledge of what was happening at Bears training camp. Okay. And as direct knowledge as you could possibly get at Bears training camp. And they said Trubisky was the better quarterback from day one. They said he played better than Nick Foles all the way through. and that it was pretty obvious to everybody there on the field that, hey, man, this seems kind of like a runaway at this point. I don't know why we're waiting so long. And so they wanted to be sure. They wanted him to prove it. They wanted him to really, really earn it and go out and take the job. And he did. This wasn't as I thought and many people thought, well, they have to because he's a number 2 pick. Direct knowledge from somebody there with as good of a source as you could possibly have, who said it was obvious Mitch won the job, and people there were surprised that it took so long for them to announce it.
Well, let me kind of draw things out a little bit and talk about Matt Nagy a little bit, because obviously, he came in to be an offensive guy. The Bears offense was awful last year, and it wasn't just Mitchell Trubisky. The running game was one of the worst in the league.
Terrible.
So, yeah, awful.
Yeah,
and so I guess my question is, where do you see the direction of this team? Do you see Matt Nagy making some, progress? Because you look at that side of the ball and they add a tight end. The offensive line still doesn't look very good. Running back situation is weird. They keep sending some good guys away and bringing some questionable guys in. So do you believe that Nagy could potentially turn things around this year? Is there any promising signs that maybe Lions fans aren't seeing?
Yeah, I think he can for sure. He's got to show an actual commitment to the running game. And this may seem dumb, but look, you guys know this in Detroit, man. I mean, has Matt Stafford ever had a legitimate running game behind him? I mean, honestly, I don't know that he ever had. Like, who's the best running back the Lions have had since Matt Stafford has been quarterback?
Statistically, that'd probably be Reggie Bush that one year.
Okay, yeah. That 1 year, it was Reggie Bush, and we all know Reggie Bush is utilized out of the backfield, and that's sort of how they utilize him when he had good success in the NFL, as sort of a dual threat, not going to run in between the tackles. But that a lot of times when you're watching Lions games, sometimes they just kind of abandon the run, and next thing you know, it's like, oh, another pass to Marvin Jones. Huh, interesting. Fourier, another pass to Fourier in the end zone. This seems like a constant theme here. And I just think Nagy, and you guys have probably seen this in Detroit, gives up on the run too early. Yeah, you're getting stopped, but keep pounding the football. I understand that you're thinking, oh, okay, yeah, but it's not working, and we're a quarter and a half into the game. Okay, but keep doing it because it's body blows. And maybe, and worst case scenario, so you go 3 and out. But you know what you did? You went 3 and out, and you actually ate up clock, as opposed to Trubisky or Chase Daniel throwing ground balls to receivers, and next thing you know, the clock stops, and you've got the Bears defense that's got to get back out there again. Like, it just, to me, that's the problem. There wasn't enough of a commitment, and they can say all they want about, well, that offensive line doesn't know how to run block well, and they can blow out the offensive line coach like they did this season and try and make it seem like, okay, maybe it was something that he was doing wrong. Man, that was Harry Hiestand. Harry Hiestand is well known and renowned in NFL and college football. He was the guy that was the offensive line coach at Notre Dame when they had that, what's that guy's name? Oh yeah, that mass murderer who now plays in Indianapolis, Quentin Nelson, who you can watch a highlight tape of just him alone and be satisfied with football the rest of your life. Harry Hiestand coached him. That was his guy. And a bunch of other guys on that offensive line. So they can try and blame the offensive line coach and try and point fingers here and there as why it wasn't working. I think there's a lack of a commitment. And until they start showing actual commitment and take some of the load off Trubisky and some of those other guys on offense, I think we're going to see a very basic offense that's going to continue to take a step down. But I think Nagy's learning his lesson. I'm hoping he's learning his lesson. I think they're going to go in the right direction this year, hopefully.
All right, I want to talk on defense a little bit since we've been covering the offense quite a bit. Bears, they lose Prince Amukamara, they lose HaHa Clinton Dix, Eddie Goldman choosing, I believe he opted out for the season for COVID-19 concerns. But I mean, everyone's looking at this defense to still be probably one of the best in the NFL, to keep the Bears in the games, definitely the best in the NFC North. So what are they looking to accomplish here? Like, they've got the big names still with Khalil Mack, but where do you see their strength lying on the defense?
Well, they and so here's the situation on defense. So last year, Khalil Mack had a down year. That's just a fact. He had a down year. So you're expecting that Khalil Mack, who started to pick it up a little bit towards the end of the year, is going to have a bounce back season. Much like Von Miller, it's hard to keep guys like that down. And apparently Khalil Mack's pissed off about last year and really super motivated. So they've got him. They also went out and they added Robert Quinn, who had a monster year a year ago. And they added Robert Quinn and brought him in because they were trying to wait around for other help for guys on that defense to help Khalil Mack out. Can somebody please try and pick up an assist here? Can somebody get some pressure? Akeem Hicks had a down year also, but that was mostly because of injuries. So the fact that you add Robert Quinn, you've got Khalil Mack on one side, you've still got Akeem Hicks in the middle, who's one of the best interior defensive linemen in the entire NFL. Roquan Smith had a really, really good year last year. Now, he was hanging out with porn stars in the offseason during a pandemic. Listen, that's the judgment there is a little bit suspect, but I mean, who wouldn't take an opportunity to go on a boat and hang out with porn stars? If it happens, pandemic or not, you got to take those chances in life. And then you got Danny Trevathan, who returns. They made a decision. We can either re-sign Nick Kwiatkowski or we can re-sign Danny Trevathan. Trevathan loves it in Chicago. They love him. So I feel like the front seven is going to be fine. I think they're going to be fine. It's the secondary where you look and go, okay, what's the answer at secondary? Because you've got Eddie Jackson, he's a stud. You've got Kyle Fuller, he's a stud. But you mentioned it, Prince Amukamara is gone. And then Artie Burns, who they brought in, gets injured, and he's done for the year. So they're going to rely on Jalen Johnson, who's a rookie out of Utah that apparently people say could be a legitimate big-time player at that position. He's a big dude. He's got the size, and they say they love his tenacity, and they love the way he plays. So if he plays well and he lives up to some of the hype that's been thrown around at cornerback position out of Utah for the Bears, then the secondary all of a sudden isn't the weak link on that defense like many people thought it would be.
All right, we teased it a little bit earlier. I want to get to your NFC North rankings before we let you go here.
I've got a Vegas question too, but yeah, go. You take this, Jeremy, because I've seen you fire up a little bit.
Well, I mean, if what it's written down, I didn't see the segment or hear the segment, but if what I see written in front of me is the rankings, I definitely want to hear some more. So what are your...
There's a second part too. So you read them, Jeremy, and then I'll throw in the catch that I know Jonas has, and then you can take him to task on it.
Well, what I see in front of me is Vikings, which I think a lot of people would agree with, but then I see Bears, Packers, Lions.
The kick here too is Jonas also has the Bears making the playoffs.
Wildcard team. I
have three teams out of the division making the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
I have the Bears, the Packers, and the Vikings making the playoffs because they have the extra wildcard spot. Look, it could be Packers 2, it could be Bears 3, but I've got the Vikings first because I think overall they've got the best roster. My only concerns about Minnesota are, one, the health of Dalvin Cook, because it's always an issue. Anybody who's ever had Dalvin Cook on their fantasy team knows, hey man, when he plays, he's really good. The problem is when he plays, he's missed a bunch of games in his career. And then I also wonder the loss of Stefanski. What does that do to Kirk Cousins? We've seen quarterbacks in the past who sort of have a breakout season. And look, Kirk Cousins was really good for Minnesota a year ago. I would argue the defense let them down more than anything. And it's not like they had a great offensive line in Minnesota. Kirk Cousins played really well. And so I just wonder, with the loss of Stefanski, does that do anything to Kirk Cousins, similar to what happened to Matt Ryan after Kyle Shanahan left? So I've got Minnesota 1. I put the Bears 2 just because there's something about Green Bay that turned me off a year ago. They were nowhere close to being the 13-win team that everybody looks at when they're reading the standings. Nowhere close, man. You can go game by game last year. If you just watch the games, it tells you this team's not close to what that 13-win team is. And they actually, I thought, defensively, after a strong start, got worse and worse the back end of the season. You guys remember how many games they were fortunate to win? The Monday night game against the Lions, when there was that awful call that went against them, that the Lions probably should have won that game in Green Bay. That was a diaper fire call by the officials.
I seem to recall that game.
Yeah, and then everybody points to Green Bay and says, "Oh, well, they were one game away from the Super Bowl." There's a difference between being one game away from the Super Bowl, like the Saints against the Rams a few years ago, and then what the Packers were against the 49ers last year. Okay, they weren't close. They played them twice. It was a wipeout both times. So I don't want to hear anything about, oh, they were one game away from the Super Bowl. I think there's concern. I don't think Aaron Rodgers played all that well last year. If you just watch it, people look at the stats, but just watch the games. People I've talked to who know the quarterback position a lot better than I do will say, yeah, he did not have a good year. That was not a really good year. So I think the Packers are going to take a step back, which is natural. I've got them and the Bears battling, and I've got Detroit finishing fourth. And Chris will even tell you, I like Matt Stafford. I like him a lot more than a lot of people do. In fact, Bucky Brooks and I had on Saturday, Bucky got a ton of heat, and I agreed with him to where he talked about transcendent talents at quarterback in the NFL. And he gave a top 5 list, and one of the guys in his top 5 was Matt Stafford. He got buried for it. And I defended him. I said, no. You guys are missing the point here. Matt Stafford's got an A-plus arm. His problem is sometimes he doesn't have a lot of help around him, whether it's the defense or the running game or the offensive line, you name it, but that's a tough dude who's actually played real well. And I always give him credit. Rob Parker, who always crushes Matt Stafford and calls him Stat Padford and kills him all the time. I say, Rob, man, you can say he's never won a playoff game, but the fact that he's taken him to the playoffs 3 times, to me, says something. The same thing with Andy Dalton. You could say whatever you want about Andy Dalton. That dude took the Bengals to the playoffs how many years in a row? So I'll say this. You could flip this division. I honestly wouldn't have an issue with it. If you flip the division, if the Lions finish first, it would not surprise me in the slightest. I just still don't trust what they're doing on defense. And I think a lot of it is whether or not Jeffrey Okudah hits. I love Okudah coming out. If he can hit, that's going to be a major upgrade for him. But I'm still skeptical when it comes to Matt Patricia and the defense, which I shouldn't be because that's his specialty on that side of the ball.
It's a specialty, and he just hasn't put anything out there. I think my only quibble is that it is 3 teams from the NFC North, because I think most people are saying this is a weak division. But, hey, if that happens, I'll be elated. Real quick, I know we got to get you out of here, Jonas, at the Jonas Knox on Twitter. Catch him across Fox Sports Radio. But I'd be remiss letting you out of here without one Vegas question, because you are part of the Straight Out of Vegas crew. I know a lot of sharps have been on Lions over under 6.5 games. I want to ask you about this particular game. And I want to see, it started as a pick, and the Vegas consensus right now on Tuesday is this moves to Detroit -3. So that's just basically the home field advantage. But, what do you feel on that line? Are you putting anything down on this game?
I mean, probably not. Betting on week 1 in the NFL is like going to a chili cook-off in white jeans. You're just begging for a disaster. You're just begging for something awful to happen. And every single year I say this, and every single year I take the bait, and every single year I lose money. Every year. I can't. You're just so excited that you don't know what to do. It's like Christmas morning and you open up all the gifts and it takes you like 4 minutes to open up your gifts, and then you're sitting around all day going, probably should have spaced that out a little bit. But no, I can't, because I got to scratch the itch, and I gotta get on board and bet on some games in week 1. Getting the 3 points with no fans in attendance, I would probably take the Bears, because I don't know, no fans, what that's going to do to, and they're going to have 0 fans there, correct? Or because I know some places are at limited capacity, but in Michigan, I think it's 0 fans.
Yeah.
So,
No,
Michigan
for the first, for at least the first 2 games.
For 2 teams that are pretty evenly matched, and on paper, I think a lot of people would say the Bears are maybe a little bit better overall as a team. Not a better quarterback, but overall better as a team. I would take the Bears plus the 3 at home with no fans in attendance. But I mean, I don't feel confident about it at all. Like,
you're just value picking.
Oh yeah, that's all it is. That's all. If I've gun to my head, I got to pick a side. I would take the Bears. But again, man, week 1 in the NFL is a crapshoot. You just every time we see a crazy upset or something happen. I mean, anybody remember Chip Kelly with the 49ers? They shut out the Rams on Monday Night Football. They blanked them. They shut the Rams out on Monday Night Football, and everybody said, man, this Chip Kelly's done it again. He went 1-14 the rest of the way through. So I'm just saying, we got to be careful what we do with week 1 when it comes to the NFL.
Again, on Twitter, at the Jonas Knox. You know what it is? It's just that Ohio State thing. We as sports fans are just conditioned. We see the word the, and we have to go the. Like, yeah.
I hate it, man. I hate it. Talk to Twitter. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, what about a blue check? I'm telling you, I couldn't care less about a damn blue check mark. That means nothing to me. That's like getting a toy in your Happy Meal. Like, at a certain age, you're like, man, I just want the burger. Like, I don't care about the little wind-up doll from 101 Dalmatians. I couldn't care less. All I want is the burger and the fries and my Coke on the side. I don't care about the blue check mark. I just want to ditch the or the because I sound like an a-hole when I read it on the air.
Well, that's a lesson for Ohio State fans to take in, too. So catch him. It's technically Saturday morning on the East Coast. Let me check here. 1 a.m. starts the Jonas Knox show. Then over the weekends, I don't have the times down for it. You can catch him with Bucky Brooks. You can catch him with Brady Quinn. That show he does with Brady Quinn is phenomenal. It's weird. It's funny. Jonas is usually the butt of a lot of jokes there, as I think he likes to be. And then across the week,
it's better that way.
Yeah, and then across the week as one of the men with RJ Bell on Straight Out of Vegas. Jonas, I'm glad we could do this again this year. I'm so excited to have football back. It's been a hell year in every regard, but at least the NFL just keeps chugging along, man.
Yeah, man, it's runaway freight train. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Yeah, we're going to have our free agency league year, our draft, and our season start on time. You guys can go cry in the corner and wear your gas mask. We're going to continue on with our year. I love the NFL, just the balls of them in the middle of all this to say, yeah, we're not stopping anything, actually. Not a thing. You want to kill our preseason games? Big deal. Nobody likes them anyways. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys having me, man. Thanks so much for thinking of me. Enjoy the game and enjoy the games, and we'll do it again soon, hopefully.
Sounds good, man. Take care.
Take care, Jonas.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we are back live. Excuse me. I need to
get out of your system.
There. Hey. Yeah, so that was a fun interview. Jonas Knox is a character, I learned.
I think I've said before, I do weekend overnights. My shifts start at 10 p.m. Pacific and go until 8 in the morning. And I start the night with Jonas Knox. It is starting it with a live wire. We have a lot of fun on that show. I play all the weird sound drops for him, but I know, like, this is his sport. He's a big UFC guy too, but I'll tell you, like, Jonas, nothing makes him happier than talking NFL. And I think you see it in the offseason, even in the offseason when there's other things going on. He wants to lead with NFL stories. He just did his big, giant NFL preview episode, and he's hustling like hell, man. I'll tell you, I feel embarrassed to say this out here, but I'll say it anyway. Like, Jonas is one I talk with all the guys in the FSR booth and everything. Like, everyone respects Jonas for the hustle he does. Like, the guy works like hell, and he's funny. He puts himself down a lot, but he knows how to have fun. So I think that's yeah. I thought he was perfect for this.
I did not expect the preview to go places like porn stars on boats or Happy Meal talk or
That's what he does. He refers to everything in real life. And it is funny because one of the games we do play on Friday is pro wrestler or porn star. And it's as he says, the hottest game show on Sports Talk Radio. And I agree. But I found, especially what he was saying about Trubisky, that was really interesting to me.
Yeah, the training camp.
I hadn't heard that out of training camp. Yeah,
I hadn't either. In fact, I remember one of the first reports I heard out of training camp was that both were just stinking up the place. Like, beat reporter was just like, "This is horrible. The Bears are in trouble no matter what." Admittedly, I haven't heard anything in a while, so I'm not at all dispelling what he said. That could very well
who knows?
possibly
Maybe
be
he got dirt. Maybe it's coming from a coach source. But I think it does help to explain why they went with Trubisky over
Foles. Yeah.
Foles. And I think his reasoning too there is good. Is like once you put Foles in, that's the nuclear button. You can't go back to Trubisky. I thought that was that was a good point too. That wasn't even something I had considered. Like Trubisky's probably on his way out of town. Some would say that's probably for the best if you're a Bears fan, maybe.
Yeah.
But if you want to give him one more, you want to basically give Trubisky the rope to hang his career with at this point.
Yeah. And
really
just
hope he doesn't.
Before we get into some of Twitch's questions live, I totally forgot to catch up on alerts from a couple segments ago. Uncle and Dingo and Nick the Greek, thank you for your bit war that happened about an hour ago at this point. But Joshua, also thank you for the gifted sub that you gave also about an hour ago. I forgot to give you a shout out for that. And I see you are still around, so luckily I can still thank you in person. Thank you, Joshua, for the gifted sub. We're up to 52 subs. We're still 17 from where I want to be. Just saying.
Yeah. Thanks, Joshua Mercer, for your thoughts, too, for the people in California with the wildfires. Yeah, the El Dorado fire did start because of a gender reveal party.
It's ridiculous.
Please don't blow stuff up to say it's a boy. That's ridiculous. That's so stupid.
But if it's a girl, you can. Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh, okay. No. I'm not sexist. I'm not a misandrist like that, Jeremy. No, that's not near me. Thankfully, I'm in the San Fernando Valley. El Dorado fires out near, I believe, I think that's near Inland Empire. That's closer to like San Bernardino. But still, there's fires burning all over California right now. And we just had probably an ungodly heat wave. I don't think I mentioned on this show, it was 120 near where I live here over the weekend. It was hell. So, but yeah, we're going through it, and I kind of wish I was back in Michigan right now, cooling off just a little bit and getting maybe some of that weather, and getting a Detroit style pizza right now would be fantastic, Jeremy.
Oh yeah,
and some Founders. I miss a dirty bastard.
True. DJ G Man asks, ain't the Chicago running back injured? If so, there's no way the Lions lose. Yes, David Montgomery is injured. He injured himself in the preseason. We don't know how severe it is. We don't know if he's going to play or not. The only thing I saw when I was reading up on it this afternoon was that he was at practice, but because at this point practices are mainly closed to the media, we don't know how much he practiced. First injury reports are out tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon, 4 p.m. We'll know a lot more about the Lions. We'll know hopefully more about DeAndre Swift as well. I can almost bet that his status is going to be limited because there's only like, it's basically a binary. It's either you're fine. I'm sorry. It's really a trinary. That's not a word, but I'm gonna say it is. You're either a full participant, a limited participant, or a non-participant. I'd be willing to bet a lot of money that he's going to be a limited. Is he going to play? Uncle Indigo's asks, I don't know. I'd say we probably see some sub packages with him in it, and maybe he gets like 5 to 10 in game 1. But really, this week 1, this Wednesday injury report is gonna tell us a lot. If he's a full participant, maybe he's the workhorse in week 1. I kind of doubt it since he missed as much time as he did, but again, basically, the Lions have been shrouded in darkness in the past week and a half since they closed training camp to the media. So I don't know what's going on. I can't tell you. Wednesday's the first time we're going to be able to go back to practice. I'm still deciding whether it's going to be worth it or not, because literally I'd be driving all the way to Allen Park to watch the first 15 minutes of practice, which is them essentially just warming up, and then I'd be driving home. Probably not worth it.
Yeah. And I mean, especially for us on Sunday too, we kind of have to have our battle stations for everything we do at Pride of Detroit. Yes. So, have to have a comfortable place to work. I mean, comfortable place, I say mostly, but I remember you used to do, when you were in LA, you used to watch all these in like a Buffalo Wild Wings. So,
yeah, so the first 3 years that I was managing editor of Pride of Detroit, I was still living in Los Angeles. And for the most part, I was going to my buddy's place. Yeah, who's also in the chat now. And yes, I mostly watched it at his place or our collective friend's place.
I just remember one time, I can't remember what game it was.
Oh, I
remember, was it the Seahawks game? Because I remember it happened during a game where something awful and terrible happens. And I remember you coming back and saying like you nearly got in a fight with someone at a Buffalo Wild Wings while you were trying to cover the end of a game.
Yeah. my buddy, how am I not myself was sitting next to me in that game, and it was the Hail Mary game.
Oh, it was the Hail Mary game.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that sucked too. Okay.
Yeah. And so we would only really go out for those nationally televised games. And I think that was the last one where I'm just like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. That was a Thursday night game.
Yeah. God.
Yeah. But yeah, no. That
was a Thursday night game?
That was a Thursday night game.
Did we play 2 Thursday night games because I usually think we don't get Thursday night games because we have the Thanksgiving.
Right.
But we had that's right, because it was late in the season. I think they made us play a second Thursday night game.
Yeah. But yeah, I think at that point I'm like, you know what? Working out in public, probably not worth it anymore. I mean, it's also weird being the guy with a laptop at Buffalo Wild Wings.
And as I've learned, going to Buffalo Wild Wings a few times before in the past, being a Lions guy out there too, especially in LA.
Well, that was the weird part of it all. Is like the guy that we almost got in a fight with wasn't a Packers fan; he was a Raiders fan. But he was getting up all in our faces
not weird
for
at
no
all.
reason. Well, I get
Raiders fans.
Yeah,
Raiders fans picking a fight is not weird at all.
Yeah,
especially Southern California Raiders fans. Are you kidding me? Like that is suspect number 1 to start.
But I mean, we went
suspect number 2. Suspect number 2 are 49ers fans.
Based on my experience, it's actually 49ers fans first. Because
that's true. Yeah,
I've been to both games. I went. Me and the buddy in the chat. We went to a Raiders game in the Black Hole with Lions jerseys, and it was relatively fine. And the Lions won that game last second. It was a huge game for both teams. Emotions were high, and we were fine. I mean, we didn't act like assholes, but like.
Well, I think it's different if you go to an actual Raiders game, and in that case, everyone's chill. I'm speaking specifically to the SoCal Raiders fan.
Yeah. That's fair.
But yes, no, 49ers fans, I think in general, if someone's wearing a 49ers jersey and you know they're probably from California itself, that's a red flag on everything.
It was intimidating walking into 49er Stadium with Lions jerseys on. They were yelling stuff at it. We had chicken wings thrown at us.
Was it Levi's or was it Candlestick at the time when you went?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it was Candlestick.
Yeah, Candlestick would have been rough.
Yeah. Marvin might know. Oops, I just doxed you. Sorry.
Oh, no.
No, I don't mean... Wait, was it the Raider Stadium that we had stuff thrown at us? I thought that was the 49ers. Maybe I'm getting my memories mixed up. Anyways,
no.
We don't need to talk about my California adventures. Oh, I guess.
So it was in Oakland then. Okay.
But I guess once we got into the stadium, it was fine. I feel like 49ers, though, was crazy. No? All right, maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, Joshua says, I get crap every time I go out in Cali with a Lions jersey. Fun crap, though. People are pretty nice. And I went back to the Black Hole last year as a Lions fan. Had old dude get all tickled at me. Told him take a Viagra, satisfy his wife, and take a seat. Wow.
Maybe that would have like ramped it up. Yeah.
Great comment, Sick Gamer. That's very very constructive to the conversation.
Listen, man, I'm from Toledo. Like our sports culture in Toledo, Ohio is both Lions and Browns. You really can't say like the Browns because it doesn't trigger me like that. It doesn't. Like, you know.
Anyone else got any questions before we head out of here? We're actually, this is like the last time you're going to see us before game day, really.
Yeah, we're not doing a Thursday first bite this week. I think, Jeremy, we talked maybe like because of my restrictions, I can't really be on too many times a week. I know I've been on quite a few podcasts these last 2 weeks, but next week, if we do a game preview, it will be you leading the charge on First Bite, as is the want. Mike Payton is starting his own segment. He's going to be interviewing people through the week. He interviewed Dan Miller. You should check it out. He might have some podcast. He wants to have a podcast every week, so we'll see who he gets for next week. I will be on for every post-game POD cast, which we're going to be doing in the season.
Yeah. And the something that we're still kind of working on, I'll just tease it here because I don't want to overpromise, is we might be going live right after the game. And that won't be the official POD cast. It won't be on the podcast stream. It's just for you people on Twitch. And if you're watching this now on YouTube, you better come on over to our Twitch channel because that's going to be a Twitch exclusive. We're not going to throw that up on YouTube. We're not going to throw that up on the podcast feed. If you want an instant reaction to the game so that after the clock hits 0, you want to talk about the game, you want to jump over this Twitch page, we'll hang out for about half an hour, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. We have to kind of feel it up.
Yeah, we'll be a little distracted sometimes because me and Jeremy will be handling a lot of editing for the site. As soon as the game goes final, it's a flurry of stuff for prideofdetroit.com on the written side. So
yeah,
you might see us doing our blogging selves at that time. So come and hang out and watch the zoo. Be like, people at the zoo watching apes flinging feces against the wall, pretty much.
Our process is pretty much exactly the same to that as well.
Exactly the same.
But then after that, I think we'll close out the post game show, and then either we still haven't worked out the timing on everything. We'll come back later Sunday night, do the full legit podcast that you guys are used to after games. That'll be up on the site. It'll be up on YouTube the following morning. But if you want to watch live, it'll be there around somewhere between 6 and 8 p.m. We haven't really decided because Chris needs a sleep schedule to figure things out. And
as I said, I'm going to be working until 8 a.m., which is going to be 11 a.m. Eastern time.
There you go.
I get off work at 11 a.m. and then I'm home by 11:30. So I'm going to be taking a nap before the game starts.
All right.
Actually, it's already yeah.
Back to a couple questions before we head out of here. Who do we trade midseason a la Tate and Diggs? Top candidates: Marvin Jones, Kerryon Johnson. Hopefully nobody.
Solid, yeah.
Hopefully nobody, but you never know.
I think the edge probably goes to Marvin Jones just because that's on a contract that is
expiring. Yeah,
expiring contract. Yeah,
last year. I'm from Michigan. I still hate the Lions. Hey, I get it. I want to know about an Among Us game night. Might be maybe something on Saturday night. You
guys were having fun with that. I saw
that was it's a pretty fun game. Do you think Unlin is really fired up about the defense? Yeah, I think he is. I mean, I think he's a first-time NFL defensive coordinator, so of course he's going to be a little fired up. This is a new crew. I do believe that the Lions really like the guys that they have on defense because of their attitude. Corey Unlin can't speak to their talent yet because they haven't gone up against an opponent. But he can speak to their character, their commitment on the field, their commitment in the weight room and in their team meetings. And I think in terms of the personalities that the Lions have on defense, yeah, they've got everything a defensive coordinator would want. It's just they have to go out and put it on the field, and Corey Unlin doesn't know yet. I don't know yet. No one knows yet. So
we know nothing.
We know nothing. Yeah, you're right. We should start thinking about a raid. Who should we raid, y'all?
Well, before we go, I do say I'm going to give another outro here. I know I did my See You Star side, but I think me and Jeremy, just on our nerdy sides, it's a rough day it's rough for me. I don't know how rough it is for Jeremy, but in case you guys didn't see, the cartoon Venture Brothers got canceled. So I grew up. I bleeping love that show.
It's a great show.
I stand Monarch over Monarch Crew. So I'm gonna go once I get off here. I'm gonna go grab a sub, drink more of this beer that my friend from Colorado sent me. Watch some of that. So Jeremy, you figure out who to raid, and all I'll say is go Team Venture.
There you go. We're gonna raid John because he's still trying to get his first Fall Guys win.
Johnny boy,
and because you might see me and John together on Twitch sometime very soon.
Wait,
wink, wink,
he hasn't gotten a Fall Guys crown?
He still has gotten a Fall Guys crown.
What a loser! I can say this because I got mine a few weeks ago. What a loser!
So we're gonna go over there, go say hi to him, go get him all hyped up. He's gonna be live doing something really awesome on Thursday. It's something called Super Squares, where he's running this live game show while everyone is watching NFL football. So go over there, hear him talk about it, ask him about it, and then make sure you follow and watch him on Thursday night because I'm going to be watching. I'm very excited for it. You guys should all do that too.
We got through a whole offseason without you talking about squares right up until this point.
Now it's going to happen all the time. Anyways,
I know.
Let's all go over there, say hi to him, and then we will see you guys on Sunday. Game time, baby.
Sunday.
All right. Bye, everybody.
We good?
Yep. Raid has happened.
Okay. All right. Let me see him. I want to see his.
Guys, don't forget.
I want to see.
Enter code BEARD. Boom,
I want to see this
Detroit.
first. Okay.
Speaking of super squares,
Okay, there we go.
Good to see you, Jeremy.
All right. Anyway,
I'll be on for
so
like
I noticed,
10
by the
minutes,
way,
but
I
really
did want to
appreciate
tell
the
you
host.
this and I completely forgot. I just noticed from
sleepy and
SB
I'm trying to
Nation,
get this
John
dub.
Gennaro is no longer the person running SB Nation podcast.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Nice.
And he was the one who guaranteed me that I'd
Nice.
still continue
Yes,
to
do you
have
mean
this
yes?
like 35 limit. So
up,
I'm gonna
Uncle?
have to reach out to this new person, Justin Bopp.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try to fly under the radar. I'm gonna try to see